We'll get started with the call to order and pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. To call this to order, anyone, we don't have anybody registered for public comment, but if anybody would like to comment at this time, it's your chance. Seeing no public comment, we can change around a few things if we want to. We want to go straight into KL Holdings and talk about that, kind of get that, and then we'll jump into discussion of the habitual offender ordinance. If everybody's okay with that, we should problem that way. You know, we'll just kind of keep everybody rolling. So let's go into that discussion and request letter of support for KL Holding downtown project grant application.
We're just going to give an update. Basically, KL Holdings, as part of the grant application, is going to need some letters of support from various entities, and the City of Hampton is one of them. And so we have been working with Karen, and we've got a template drafted for a letter of support. But we're finding out that we need to include a little bit more specific language of what tax incentives are being offered to KL Holdings. That has to be included in the letter of support. And and if the development agreement isn't passed, then they want some minutes referenced in the letter of support of council action that would lead them to believe that council is going to follow through on the development agreement. So the way it looks right now, the letter of support will be ready for council to consider until the July 24th council meeting, when hopefully we'll be considering the development agreement. So we're waiting to hear back from the KL Holdings attorney on the development agreement. And so that's just kind of an update.
I have an update to that just occurred this afternoon because we've been meeting. Just to make you aware, they're very grateful for the city's willingness to consider these incentives.
We have the mic so we can record it.
Oh, okay. Mitchell, Franklin County Development. They're very grateful for the city's consideration of this project, and it came out of a meeting today that they want to rerun their numbers to plug in what we're hoping to get in the way of evaluation, and then from that an estimate of property taxes, because it's that number that can affect how things go. And so a letter requesting an estimate has gone to the county assessor. We can reasonably expect that might take a couple days. The only reason I'm bringing this up is, in any letter of support, at least for the next few days, we don't know exactly how that should best take form. If it's a tax abatement with nothing else, if it is TIF, and for so how long, what percentage it might be that for the project's sake to stay where they need to be. Maybe they're going to ask for 50% over a slightly longer period of time as opposed to 100% right up front. We're still talking about tax abatement. It's how that will look is something that they're going to try to figure out in the next few days. And I believe that in the letter that will go with the application, the reviewers would expect to see some level of detail, some specifics about a percentage of whatever it is for a period of time, to have those blanks somewhat filled in. It's not necessary that a development agreement be signed, but the closer we can get toward that mutual approval of an agreement, the far better it's going to be. because on number 2 on the priority list of this project is project readiness. First, does it all work financially? The second is it ready to go? And so the closer we can get everything, the better. And our hope is that we can communicate and keep in touch so that maybe there is something that you can actually approve on the 24th. And as Ron was saying that even within the context of the minutes of the meeting, what they're looking for is evidence that, yeah, the city did talk about it. You know, a project can put in X number of dollars for tax abatement. Well, says who? Well, here says the minutes of the meeting that, yes, the city is talking about, in lieu of an actual formal letters. So the fact that you are considering tax abatement, you are considering rebates, that you're willing to do it for this project, we would ask that that be reflected in the minutes in some level of detail, so that at least we have that to give them.
What detail?
As I just said, the council discussed tonight, like for tonight's minutes, discussed tax rebates, providing the project with tax rebates, potentially tax abatements, and or a combination of percentages and durations to be determined.
Okay. So this will work, the minutes from this special meeting, or do we need it in council meeting maybe Thursday?
Well, quite possibly.
We could put it on there to discuss options and not make action on it.
Great, yeah, and that'd be great. What I'm trying to do is build evidence that, yeah, you guys actually did talk about this.
And we have that on our last council workshop would be the minutes from that.
Yeah,
in
but
there.
we have minutes already talking about that with no specifics, but just what you
That's the
said.
problem is in the minutes, the last minutes, they didn't detail that you're considering 3 years, 100% abatement, abatement, and then the proposal for 5 years afterwards.
Well, it is in the minutes that we discussed that.
Oh, it is, okay. I thought it was just that you discussed in Senate.
No.
Period.
No, he went through options for us that could be
And that's in the
considered,
minutes,
which was the
printed
three.
minutes. Okay,
I
perfect.
think it was.
I believe
Great.
so.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, that's great. We have
If not,
that.
they are now because we're discussing 3 and 5 years. So
Yeah.
we can make sure if it's not in those minutes.
All we need to do is show that, yeah, this is what the city's talking about, that somebody just didn't take a budget item and fill in a number.
So yeah, that we're actively discussing these kind of options.
Yeah,
Okay. And so from the workshop, you're okay with just the workshop minutes as compared to a council minutes?
the council's stronger. We like council minutes. And we don't need it now. This is the thing with this whole thing, is it's very fluid. We pivot on the dime. But I'm saying that in the event that we are not able to be at the point where everybody has a firm letter of support, or more importantly, that there is a development agreement signed, that we can prove the discussion is taking place.
Okay.
Of course, our goal is to have the city sign a letter, and we would prefer that letter to be approved by the council. Or do you have you guys? I don't suppose you vote electronically, so we would have to have this all ready to go in the next June meeting or July meeting.
We would have another workshop on the 21st that we could talk about and make sure that and then we'll do action on that Thursday, if that's what you're
That's our
needing.
goal then.
So if we could have the draft completed, that you and everyone feels that this would be the strongest action we can take for the letter of recommendation, we can discuss it, make sure there's not a problem, and then vote on the letter of recommendation, which still does not say the exact amount, right?
Well, it might.
It might.
Because
Do you think you'll have that?
by the time we get to the 24th, if we have the development agreement,
We don't want to get into dollar amounts. We don't want to ever say dollars and cents, because we don't know what this will actually value on. What you want to commit to
percentages
is the
and
percentage.
terms.
Right.
Okay. So Karen, at the June 23rd meeting, the minutes say that stated if the council wishes to grant tax incentive, a package may include a 3-year urban revitalization 100% tax payment, followed by a 3 to 5-year TIF rebate, whereby KL would pay the property taxes and the city could rebate back a certain percentage of the taxes. Consensus of the council was to have Bill Knowles begin drafting a development agreement for council to review.
Good. So if everything else were to go away, we would at least have that.
Yeah.
But I'm confident we can come up with a letter that you guys will approve and authorize the mayor to sign.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the dates of having that signature, what's your kind of deadline on when does this packet need to go out?
That comes from, oh, well, we want to take it all down to Des Moines for review end of July, first part of August. I would say I need that letter by July 30th.
Well, I hope you have it in July 24th.
That's what I.
Except I won't be in town to sign anything. I'll be back that 28th. I can call in to the phone, but at your all's consensus, Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah, Mayor Pro Tem can sign.
Whatever you want to do.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be great. It would just be, we're taking that packet up to 9 o'clock to have them take a look at it too. And the deadline for that, they have to have all of that by August 1st, which is why I'm saying July 30th. So if that'll work, that's great.
We can even have signature lines for all the council members too, if you want that at the bottom.
Y'all are around to sign it.
I mean, as soon as we vote, I mean, if that's the way you want to draft it, then that could be set out that night.
The more signatures, the better. The stronger it looks for support, that's wonderful. Not critical, but that'd be wonderful.
So, we can do what, I think from our consensus for that workshop, if we could get to us, kind of like what, your review, the strongest, most powerful statement you can make, and, what do we want to do to get it through?
Okay.
I think that's the consensus everyone kind of had here. If we're going to do it, and the time y'all are spending on it, we're going to do it. So.
Okay, well, they're out in the field spraying right now, and the farmers know there are priorities for things, but as soon as they can, they're going to run the numbers on different scenarios on how that would be structured.
A couple questions, if you don't mind, from our meeting. I've had feedback from the public and a couple questions that came up. One is that in its final form, and the design that was given to us, which was the Main Street design for apartments, those type of things, do we need that many single apartments, single bedroom apartments, and what architect will be used, and those type of things? Do you want to talk to any of those type of things, or it's too early to decide that? Is it in its final form, that many single one-bedroom apartments versus two-bedroom?
It's not in its final form. The information you have and the information that's been public as far as the design is not in its final form. The number of single apartments versus two bedrooms might be, given the revenue that can be taken off of those units versus does that actually address the debt that would be incurred to build. So they're looking at that. That's not to say there isn't some flex. They recognize that two-bedroom apartments probably have more value, but they can't double the price of the rent just because of an extra bedroom. They wouldn't do that. So I would say that the unit numbers are fairly close. You wouldn't see a big shift one way or the other. The design-specific layout, no, they're still working with the an architect on that.
Has an architecture been retained?
No, they're interviewing right now.
Anybody else have questions? Karen, I see.
When does this grant actually begin?
April 15th.
April 15th?
No.
I thought they
I'm
were.
sorry, August 15th.
Okay.
What's the city?
26-unit apartment building to be built on Gazebo Park Corner.
That's right up here.
3-story structure that will be designed to be compatible with historic Main Street. It won't be designed to look like an old building. but it will be designed to be visually compatible with. And it will have, in addition to the apartments for rent, it will have common areas in the interiors on all 3 floors. It will have commercial retail space on the Main Street floor. It will have, they're planning on workout, what do you call them, thing for the residents. A fitness room for the residents. Fully serviced with elevators. It'll be energy efficient. Construction will most likely be concrete tilt up because of the time restrictions on getting it built. But it will be
Apartments were there? How many apartments?
26 units.
Where's all these cars? Where are they going to park?
They're going to park on the main floor of that building, and they recently purchased a parking lot a block away that will house all the units.
Why would they build this building on uptown? Why wouldn't they build it someplace?
There's incentives to go downtown.
It's the state incentives, the state guidelines. This is where they're getting a big part of the money to help build the project. If it weren't for this grant, they wouldn't consider it at all. And the grant is to go to infill projects such as what this is. And they've also said that in the guidelines, it is to go to downtown areas in county seats. Highly competitive grant right now. But when we consider the entire environment of downtown Hampton, and you think of that many people living down there within walking distance to banks, to stores, to restaurants, to recreation, to the parks, to the courthouse, to the aquatic center, it's amazing. It could bring a real urban vibe to this community. Very cool. And the state people who were here just today, after they went down and actually looked at it, came back with smiles when we were here. I mean, I'm feeling very good about this project and how it's being received. The concept is wonderful.
Are the other organizations in our community, they've done their support letters, CBA, Main Street, Tourism, Chamber?
I don't know where they're at.
Okay.
Right now, I've been focusing on getting letters from our employers and our major businesses, giving us some direction as to, is there really a need? And it's clear that we're going to blow that argument right out of the water.
Good.
Yeah. An official housing study would have taken more time than was allowed even when they announced the grant project. So we thought, let's just go to landlords, our businesses, school, the hospital, and get their feedback. Do we need housing here? And in just 3 responses back, 2 of them were former landlords. We've got the 25 units proposed covered already, and we haven't heard from the big hitters yet. And this is county-wide. So, plus our outflow numbers are significant, and it's reasonable to expect that we could maybe have some people living here instead of commuting if we had acceptable rental housing.
Other questions?
Looking for it in my notes, the occupancy rate that they estimated, I think was 92 or 93%. I remember that correctly.
70% is what they've been calculating for their calculating their financials.
Correct. I thought that we were told it was over 90.
No. 7.
No. It was. I wondered if that was close to high.
No, 7. Always they've been working on 70% occupancy.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
One question I've been getting is there going to be an on-site, maybe you can't answer this, is there going to be an on-site manager there?
Yes.
Other questions, other comments? So the go forward is we're looking for July 21st to kind of, our workshop there to kind of have something to finalize, make sure everybody, if we need to tweak it, get it on the agenda for the 24th and vote on it and have something ready to sign that night or that morning based upon the action taken by the council.
Perfect.
Does that work for you?
Perfect.
Parking you mentioned, I mean, that's a done deal.
They closed on a parking lot?
It's closed.
I guess I would
It's
mention
public knowledge.
for Jay's benefit that they had to go before the Board of Adjustment to seek a variance because they couldn't meet the off-street parking requirements that our code requires. So they petitioned to the Board of Adjustment, and there was a public hearing held last week, and the Board of Adjustment granted a variance for the off-street parking requirement.
Thank you for bringing that up, because that brings up another thing that was discussed at the meeting today, is guys from Des Moines were astonished that Hampton still had this kind of antiquated code. Nobody's doing it this way anymore, and haven't for years. And I just wanted to pass that
What are you
on.
referring to, off-street parking? Or what?
The so many parking spaces per business, or so many parking spaces per occupancy. None of the development you see in the past years, decades, has been done that way. And
How do they do it?
I'm not an expert. It's more based on gross available as opposed to proximity, and it's not. They said, do the math. If you have a 75-foot storefront and expect X number of spaces for just that storefront, you're not going to have enough room for everybody to comply with that law. And there's something about counting it as public spaces. And again, we didn't dive into that because that's not what we were meeting for today. But just a heads up that this was an aside comment from them, that they were amazed that this was still out there. So maybe there's a reason to take a look at it and see if maybe it couldn't be updated. Because it can be, well,
Restricted.
not only that, but this was a project killer. It would have killed a $4.2 million project because it was just not really.
Well, it's great that they took the extra step to get through it.
Yes,
But,
absolutely.
but the question I would have is this has come up in the past. I've talked to the chief about this overnight, and if it was through Main Street, was it Main Street people commenting? Because a year and a half ago, whoever was commenting on it, it would be nice to have them suggestive ordinance or someone come before us so it does, so we aren't restrictive on downtown parking or anything else and how to work through it. We just need language on that because we need shoppers, but yet also, that would be perfect. That would help us in the future. I'd rather deal with it proactively than reactively.
Right.
It was IEDA and Main Street, and they would be willing to come and speak to council.
That'd be great. I mean, they talked to me about that before, that we need to worry about parking in order to get those second story, tickets. I think people here have gotten tickets for parking overnight downtown, those type of things. If we can kind of work through that, how do we incentivize people to stay, but yet also keep the shoppers? What's that happy mix? And if they can help us with that, I think it'd be great for us to take a look at that and do it proactively as compared to last minute. So if you've got some language to help us, that'd be wonderful.
Sure.
Anything else that from Ms. Mitchell? Anything from Christine or anything else on this whole topic? So we have a plan before that Monday to kind of get it in front of us in workshop, and hopefully you'll be available or anything that if we need to. So because our hope is that Monday to finalize and Thursday to take action and get some signatures. Is that
good? And this will give them a deadline too.
excellent?
Did I misunderstand you? They did or did not purchase the property for parking?
They did.
They closed on another parking lot here.
Okay, that's what I thought. I was just
Yeah,
wondering
as far
if that
as
was
whether
public
all the
knowledge.
ink is dry on the contracts, I don't know.
Okay, I wondered if that was public knowledge, what piece of property was purchased. That was my question. For the parking.
Given that a contract isn't signed, I guess I'm not sure I should say.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Too hard to figure out, but
Yeah.
not officially. I guess I can feel it, because I just don't know that. I
If
know
it's
that
really
was supposed
close.
to be done today. I have no clue whether it got done.
Okay.
All right, we're good?
I don't think anything else. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna, oh, did she just leave?
I was supposed to keep you busy until she got back.
Okay, are you going to do finger puppets? Fingerprinting. We can go back to something else. You want to get back on discussion of disposal of unused city? You want to do that?
Yeah, we can do that.
For that city manager.
Yeah,
Okay.
just briefly on that, we've got an old vehicle and we've got some items in storage upstairs and we've got some various smaller things that we probably should get rid of. And we were approached by a local bank is organizing an auction for, I think, one of their customers, and I think the county is utilizing that auction to get rid of some items, and they were wondering if the city was interested, but the timing isn't right. There's no way we can get organized and have things in time for that. I think it's in early August. And so we wanted to talk about the concept of maybe getting rid of some of this stuff by auction. It's you know, to try and sell this stuff by an ad in the paper or, you know, any other fashion, we end up losing money, and so it might be something to consider. So what we're proposing is we'll put together a list of things that we would propose be sold and bring it to a workshop and have you consider it. So, and I know auctions, you know, you share a certain percentage with the auctioneer, so that's one of the downsides, but
I think we're willing to let other people come in, and we're the lead, and I think we will get the attention by having a city auction. So
well, otherwise we talked about maybe just approaching a local auctioneer, either Springer or who else, and say if we could just put our stuff on one of the, you know, I don't know what the best way to do it. We could talk with.
Could you just? We had a sale at the Windsor. There was an abandoned garage, and we just basically sold the whole garage. We had an auction. And, yeah, all or nothing. Sold it all.
I'd say,
But I don't know what, I'd like to see what's in there first.
I guess giving us a list of the stuff, and let's get the cash flow.
Then we can
coming in.
decide what to do.
To give you an example, we've got a cage out of one of the Crown Vics. We've got a console out of one of the Crown Vics. All that stuff gets put upstairs.
I think some of that individual stuff you probably wouldn't get rid of anyway. So maybe we should just sell the whole thing. Like all or nothing, put a bid on the whole thing, they come and get it and take what they want.
And we've got one copier that was replaced that still does work, another copier that's up there. I'm not sure what the status on that was. You know, and we might just have to junk it.
I was going to say, does anything actually function?
I think the quicker, I mean, we're all in favor of turning this, aren't we? So the quicker we move on, the better, but yet at your own pace. But I think we're all for getting rid of it. So we'll move to the, well, Bob's standing. If there's something Bob wants to do with, no? Well, let's just.
The nuisance stuff, I can tell you what's kind of coming down the pike on that. You know, you've already been informed of kind of the way that things are going to go as far as magistrate's concerned.
Right.
So what we have tried to do, and actually what Megan was going to, we had talked earlier today, Ron and I did, and I think she had that in there, but there was at the bottom of the ordinance, or at the bottom of the copy that you have there, it was a little confusing as far as how much time the court was going to go and give somebody. So she went to the office to make some of those changes, and then going to bring a clean copy back.
So do we
What we're looking at is the second notice that they go and get within a year. What I told her I'd like to see is that they only get a 2-day notice instead of 5 days if they're a repeat offender, because it's like, okay, you've already been given a notice about it, okay, in that year, and if we have to go and give another notice within that year, then let's just give them 2 days to get it cleaned up instead of another 5 days to get it cleaned up. And that's kind of the same thing at the bottom there when the magistrate goes and tells them, finds them guilty or whatever. If we actually wrote a ticket and finds them guilty and tells them that they have X amount of time to clean it up. If it's a second offense, you've got 2 days to clean it up.
Yeah, I think we're all open to however you and Megan work it out, but the biggest thing is how you're going to report it back. I think that's the part I was looking for, was how are you going to, when you do your report, how are you going to report this? That we've got second offenders, first offender, this is a first time offense on this property or owner. I mean, that's what I'm kind of, and how's the press going to pick up on this? How is it going to be reported? And how are we going to act on it? Just kind of work it all the way through and come to us where it's kind of, I mean, the wording, the legalese, and that stuff that y'all are trying to put in, I'm not a lawyer, and I just want your all's recommendation, how we're going to report it and how we're going to go through it before we take action on it. That's my opinion. I mean, when Megan comes back, she's going to present another line.
Then I guess my question would be is what do you want reported? The repeat offenders that get the notices but don't necessarily get tickets because they clean the property up before that happens? Or do you want the ones that have actually gotten the ticket and they're a repeat offender, so it's a second offense as far as the ticket's concerned?
I'd go, I think the ticket stuff, I mean,
That would be a lot easier.
and that's the way we prefer it. And then the difference between grass and the other offense, I think that's the other question I keep going through my mind is how are we doing the grass versus the other. But,
Well, I guess
so do we want to table this? And
You know what, I apologize. I put a star on the top of one to look at because in talking to Bob, there's some things that he pointed out more making sense to him, so I think I kind of clarified a little bit. So if you want to take a look at that one, sorry, you can disregard the first one.
so Bob did a very nice job of filling us in while you were gone, but the question I guess we're going to say is, do we want to go through this or do we want to wait and table? I mean, you're here, I guess we can go through it, but.
The changes that we had made is that first off, we really clarified. We kind of broke 50.10 down into 3 paragraphs instead of 2, and really spelled out that a first offense you get a 5-day notice. Any subsequent offense you get a 48-hour notice to abate. So what that does basically shrinks down the time which they have to clean it up without going to court. And then if you look at the failure to abate, when you look at potential penalties, sometimes the court will just give them a reasonable amount of time to abate it themselves. They'll get fined, and then she'll also say, by the way, you have 5 days to clean it up now. So we wanted to make it a little more uniform in that first notice is always going to be a 5-day notice to abate. If they don't get abated, we issue a citation. They go to the magistrate. The magistrate then, under our ordinance, can only give them 5 days to abate that first time. And then can also assess them either a fine or civil penalty. Any subsequent failures to abate would then again be a 48-hour period of time to get taken care of. It's kind of a 2-step process.
So is this I think you all are all in with this?
Well, I think it's the first time that Ron is saying it. Bob and I, we went over it this morning, incorporated the changes. Bob and I looked at this afternoon, and he said that doesn't make sense to me. This is my proposal. If you guys see some problems with it or changes you think I need to make, the only thing I might make would be after that first offense, at 50.13, the other ones down below, I indicate that there's a 48-hour notice. I'd probably just indicate in there time to abate, and I'd probably include time to abate after judgment would be 5 days, and then 48 hours for subsequent.
And I guess the questions that I had for Bob while you're going was the scenario of reporting to us on his twice a month, report, how we're going to report it, how the press is going to deal with it, and I guess the other issue is working through the scenario of either last year or so far this year. How many people would have been a repeat offender? How many people, what would have happened if we had done whatever you're proposing or finalizing? What would have happened last year? How many people, are we seeing that you wrote or dealt with that would be coming up this year that we would have dealt with a repeat offender? And I don't want to make a big science project out of it. I'm just testing.
excuse me, but as
Yeah.
far as ones that actually got charged and went to court,
Right.
I bet there's no more than 2 or 3.
There's not more than 2 or 3. And are those people emerging this year?
One of them has.
Okay. So I'm trying to come through the
Another one
impact.
might be possible.
Right. And that, I guess that's what we're dealing. I just want to see how many numbers are we talking about here and that kind of stuff. Because we're putting a lot of time and effort into it, but if it's going to deal with how many properties we're
We talked about repeat offenders as far as citations are concerned, and I say there's only 2 or 3. We can go back and ask how many repeat offenders are there that are offenders that have been done in the last year and the year before and whatever.
But it comes off after 2 years, right?
Then it kind of changes the amount of people that we've actually sent letters to.
Okay.
Now, that also means that they went and abated it, so they did not get a ticket. They got a letter, but not a ticket. So we could have 15, 20 of those, and only have 2 of them that are repeat offenders as far as getting citations because they did not take care of them and abate the nuisance.
And then one other question: do we have anybody with a 4th offense, or a 2nd or 3rd? I mean, right now we don't have anybody. Okay.
And I wanted to point out, originally we were going to have a 24-month period to be a habitual offender. Kind of got the impression that magistrate thought that might be a little long, so I shortened it to 12 months. I mean, the council wanted to change that and see 18 months or something, but most other cities do it 12 months for my research.
Other comments, direction that we can give them, or questions?
Well, this is just a real minor thing. The second paragraph, the first sentence, that any person causing, creating. You know, you repeat that same question or same sentence down in paragraph 4, starting in line 5. I mean,
I try to keep it. I get paid by the word, so.
That's not fun. No, it's just, I mean, it's the same exact sentence. I mean,
Yeah.
why it's worth repeating it, because it's in a different number.
Yeah, it's in a different number, and you don't have someone argue that.
They can stand alone, don't they?
Because yeah, in my mind, causing a nuisance would be like the odors, the contact with odors. Creating a nuisance is visual, and then maintaining would be moving to a house that's falling apart and you say not going to change it. They are different, and so you hate for someone to be able to successfully argue one or the other that doesn't apply to them.
Well, one of the paragraphs talks about abatement by the city, and then the other paragraph talks about what the failure to abate, what happens. So that's part of the reason why you haven't seen there.
It's kind of a unique process because you have the city working as, you know, a government agency more administratively. That they'll give you a notice to abate, and you can appeal administratively to them, which we're not doing anything with that. And then once basically they've exhausted their remedies at this level, then they go to court, and so you have a second part about the failure to abate, and you get the civil penalties or the potential criminal penalties.
When our local, you know, and there was no official ruling or anything else, you were just running up the proverbial flapping pole. What other communities and other magistrates, or does it not matter? I mean, I guess I look at, if we can say, precedent in other cities and other magistrates have made to help convince our magistrate or anyone here locally that this is the norm, and, you know, why are we changing, you know, what is normal and standard practice in other communities?
I think the one thing that the court was a little bit hesitant to go along with was the matter of notice. This is a constitutional matter. Other cities don't have the notice that we have. The first offense they get notice, second assessment they do not get notice. Our magistrate said that she felt in duty to the court basically to raise that, and the defendant didn't. I didn't really get the right defense attorney, and they might argue that themselves. So
You think the difference is the fact that we're trying to do these certain cases versus some cases.
yeah, that could have hurt. I mean,
A lot
but
of communities, it's all civil.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, code enforcement officer takes care of it, so civil process instead of a criminal process. And I think that might be part of the reason why.
Yeah, I mean, you still have the same constitutional guarantees for civil processes, but when it's a criminal that affects the greater on the defendant, so that's not the largest thing, right?
Can you tell me how the scenario of the person who has a nuisance, you warn him, he cleans it up, and 2 months later, you have to go one down? Is that a second offense, even though he didn't get a ticket?
Yeah, that would be the second offense. You can look at
And that's where you want to try to get something done different with them, because of the fact that we aren't writing tickets. And we're trying to get something done, is at least the next time that he did, if you, 6 months later, or 2 weeks later, he has another one, he only has 2 days to clean it up.
But so I'm thinking if you have to go back and tell him to clean up the same nuisance, he should have a fine right there, because we've got time invested in him not doing, he's been told, we don't want this. And if it shows up again.
That's part of the issue that we're gonna have with the magistrate, by us not giving them notice to clean it up.
And if it was a civil, would it be different?
I mean, we do give a notice. We would give a notice. You know, the third paragraph talks about, you know, you get a 40-hour notice, even if it's a different, same owner, different property, different offense. They've been put on notice of what constitutes a nuisance. And so basically, the way it reads that they would receive a 48-hour notice to abate a subsequent offense, and so it doesn't require any kind of conviction or any kind of judgment entered against them. I can. So.
But we can't give a citation.
You can't give them a second offense citation. Correct. You can't give them a second offense citation, but you could. And again, a lot of that's the discretion of the police because they understand people's situations and they have the discretion whether to be a little more flexible with the time periods and stuff.
So again, would we have, I mean, I understand that that would be a first offense if you went back there again. You could give them 48 hours to clean it up. If they don't, then you would give them a first offense ticket. Is that what you were asking, Jay? Is that the workflow?
If we can somehow not have to have Bob keep going back to the same places and say, you have 2 days to clean it up. They get it cleaned up on the second day. And then 3 weeks later, they got the same mess, and you got to go back and say, you've got 2 days to clean this up. And there's no reason for him to care because he knows that when you come, he gets 2 days from there. But if you give him a $50 ticket every time you show up and say you've got 2 days, then maybe you, I don't, you know, I'm just saying we've got people who have other things that they should be doing, having to show up with these, because you just said 15 people would probably be repeat offenders, but they clean it up just in the nick of time.
Usually not more than once in the same year. Usually, I mean, it just seems like every year, you know, it's some of the same ones, not all.
But I just would like to see our officers not having to go back to these houses over and over and give them, you know, and it's probably a legal thing you have to, but you know, if somebody came to my house and said, pick up your stuff and here's your $50 fine that needs to be paid, I wouldn't have that same mess anymore because I don't want to give up $50 every time you show up at my door.
And I guess once you write the $50, even though they can get, you know, come in and appeal it or whatever, that's in the paper, isn't it?
What?
And your notices aren't in the paper. So once you write the ticket, it's public record, correct?
And once, but again, that would be at the, they wouldn't appeal it. You wouldn't appeal a citation, you appeal a notice to abate.
Right.
And so, I mean, it could all be very private and drag out. Once they receive the notice to abate, then they could appeal and exhaust that. And then once the city council rules that, no, that is a nuisance, you need to clean it up, they have the time to clean it up. If they don't, then they get the citation. And it's still going to drag it on. This is probably about speaking with the court, this is probably about the best we can do right now.
Or do we wait? I mean, I guess the point, I mean, the comments I've made on the whole thing is like, I don't want to put something in that mucks it up even more, and it's not going to affect what we wanted to do. And if we know the people that we, you know, the issues that we want to deal with, we just want to clean and to have the best code that we can put in place. And if we can't come up with that code, then it's like, that's what came up, is we didn't know how to deal with it. We wanted to clean it up. We don't want to
Put
fire
the
it.
best code out that you can think of.
Mm-hmm.
if it takes up too much of his time, I don't like it.
Right, and I think that's the point.
I do think that if you give them a 5-day notice, you're gonna have people that are gonna do their entertainment, you know? If you give them a 5-day notice and they give them a subsequent 48-hour notice, it will force them to keep their property clean for at least periods of time. You know, and you're right, it will buy you more of a time. Most people are gonna be like Jay and say they don't wanna be on the wrong side of the police, you know, even if it's just a nuisance or something. And so they'll probably attempt to get it clean and keep it clean if nothing else, just because a warning is enough for them, you know?
Other comments? How do we proceed and what are we thinking? Cool shirt, Tommy. Sorry, I just missed that.
My pride, Hampton.
There you go.
Well, if you want, we can put this into an ordinance to bring before the council. Well, I think we would do it at the next workshop, 21st, and then be on the 24th agenda in an ordinance amendment format. Or if you don't want to, we won't.
How do you feel about this? I mean, we're trying to take action. I mean, are we kind of getting in your way of doing what you feel is important?
No, you know, I guess it's just the nature of the beast with the stuff. And you only have, like Megan said, you only have a handful. We have a property we've been to 4 times in reference to garbage because they put garbage out for garbage day or whatever, and it might not get picked up because they haven't paid. And so then cats get into it, whatever, and then it blows around. And believe me, I know how they feel because when you live south of some restaurants, you get all the crap that people throw out when they go through the drive-thru and it blows into your yard. So going and having to spend that amount of time going and giving somebody a notice like that, it's frustrating that, yes, why can't we go and give them 1 or 2 and then write them a ticket for it? But if we don't have the backing to go with it, then I guess the next best thing to me is at least go on and limit them to, you got 2 days to clean it up, not 5.
So that's the end result of this, is basically we've shortened it, gone through this and shortened it. We're not going to get anyone on a 2nd, 3rd, or 4th offense because usually it's not going to happen that many times in that first year. So they start all over again the next year, and so they might get the 2, but that's highly unlikely. It's really, you know, I guess it's on here, we can scare people with it, but it's really, there's no teeth in it.
So maybe it should stay at the 24-month category.
And that would be, I didn't change it back to that. The other cities don't seem to do it that way, but, and it might have just been my hypersensitivity to trying to unofficially get some advice from her. We can try 24, and if she doesn't like it, we'll find out, but we'll find out months down the road possibly, you know? Or,
Well, but if we go and meet halfway and do 18
I think
months.
18 would be a little safer.
I'd be happy with that.
And-
18.
It keeps it on the books longer.
Yeah.
That's why.
They just need direction, so
I go with the 18.
you like the 18? And do you all want to proceed with this? I mean, so you're fine with the pay, you're fine with them putting in more time into it. I'm hearing kind of just an 18, change it to 18. Is there anything else? Because the next workshop we'll have something in the final to kind of review and go through, and then we'll want to take some action to still get it in the paper. Anything else? Any other comments? Is that kind of
What I've
consensus?
heard Bob say several times is that his feeling that cutting it down to the 2-day period
Is it good?
gives you a little bit more clout.
Well, and for a neighbor that lives there for 5 days, the first time they get a notice, doesn't have to sit there for 5 days while cleaning up the next day.
Yeah.
Now, just so everybody understands this, the way that I was told by the previous city attorney is you don't give them a ticket on the 5th day, you give the ticket on the 6th day. So that would probably be the same way that it is on the other one, just so we make sure
Well, and
we don't run into a problem in the corners.
we do say 48 hours, which is a little bit different than day.
Oh, okay.
And so
Well,
you
I-
do 48, yeah, you do 6 hours, 6 p.m. on a Wednesday, 6:01 on Friday, you give them a ticket because it's hours, not days. Because days count by the midnight 12:01 in the morning.
Okay.
I guess I'm all for it, if it's what Bob wants, I can help you.
It's not the best you did. I'm afraid we're gonna get
Okay. So,
at this point.
okay, we're taking action. We're putting something forward, and
And I'll have a polished copy without a star on top
I kind of like this.
at
stuff.
the, that you guys can do your reading.
Okay. All right, we'll look for that for the workshop. Thank you very much. If there's no other questions, thank you. So we'll get back on the discussion of the possible sale of medallions made from the walnut trees harvested from Harriman Park.
We received confirmation today that medallions have been, walnut medallions have been produced for sale at the fair, and I believe Center One is discussing being the vendor for that.
We want to do it at the tourism booth at the fair. The tourism booth this year is going to be manned by different organizations that we have given grants to. So we've asked them and if they would like to help sell them there. That's our goal. I'll be there quite a bit. I think Jim's going to be there quite a bit. So.
Anybody who's after the meeting, I can show you a picture of what they're kind of looking like. They're about 2.5 times the size of a quarter and quite a bit thicker, printed just on one side. We'll have 200 that are produced. Suggested sale price, donation price basically, is $5. So it would bring in about, if we sold all 200, it would bring in $1,000 in toward profits.
Do you have a year on them?
Yes. It says around the front, it says Harriman Park Restoration. And on the bottom it says 2014. It's got an image of the wall of a tree with leaves on it in the center.
Any other comments? Thank you, Diane and Dick, for kind of putting that together.
We just wanted approval from everybody to do.
I don't know if we can officially approve it, but we can sure get a consensus. Everybody's.
I just wondered if the chairman of the tree board was going to sign each one of them and then number them.
I think he should.
That would be nice.
So it should be numbered to more than.
It's a woodburn tool.
That would be sweet.
How many of them?
200.
2,000.
2,000.
Better get going. Fair sale next week.
And we'll be picking those up this week on Wednesday because we are going to pick up the.
Does the press have a picture of it at all?
Not yet, no.
It's not going to get there tonight.
No, it wouldn't happen this week. It'd have to be next week.
It could be next, but you can get it to them to maybe have something.
Yeah. The paper was already in print by the time we heard this today.
Diane, can we show tourism on Wednesday? Picture of it?
Yes.
We were thinking
Nick's
of-
going to email me a copy because I need to start making some posters.
Yeah, it'd be great if we can get some press out that'll be at the fair, sold at this, and what it's benefiting and that stuff.
The tree that we've been waiting for is in stock, and Cresco will be picking that up on sale. So it's a heritage white oak. It'll be about 12 feet tall, 12 or 13 feet tall.
Excellent. Good job as always. Anything else? All right, let's update on Ward 1 vacancy process. It was in the paper, so.
Yeah, it's in the paper, and we're taking applications until the 17th, I believe. So that's basically all I have for information.
We are going to skip that last part, discussion request for lunch, so we have continued discussion of alternative revenue source. I'll turn it over to City Manager.
Alternative revenue sources. At the last workshop, we talked about franchise fees. And I gave you some information to look over tonight. I've handed out some information on another alternative revenue source, which is a stormwater utility and a stormwater utility fee. So basically, this first handout talks about what a stormwater utility is, who's affected by the fee, what the charges would be used for, which is stormwater-related issues, culverts, drainage issues on public properties and right-of-ways. It's a fee that's assessed depending on the impervious area of the property. So some properties you would pay more than other properties. Commercial would pay more. Depends on how much paved area, roof sizes, sidewalks, driveways, things like that. You know, the reason we look at alternative revenue sources is because you got things like maintenance of the storm sewer system is done by using road use tax fund, because it's a street, you're draining those streets, and so it's a street related matter, and those funds go, you know, you want to use as many funds of those funds as you can to do street improvements, but when you're putting some towards storm sewer, you know, some cities use a stormwater utility to have those funds available to storm sewer, and then the other funds can go back and go towards street repairs or street construction and things like that. So, and then the franchise fee, alternative revenue source to get some things done that you don't feel like you have enough revenues to do. That's a more broad based revenue that can be used towards lots of different things depending on how you set it up by resolution and ordinance from the onset. But stormwater utility is more focused on stormwater related issues, but that would, however, help the road use fund, the street department fund, to maybe put a little bit more money towards streets. And you know, stormwater becomes an issue when you get heavy rains, and you know, you see where some of the infrastructure could be improved. And so one benefit of it would be to have excess funds to be able to do some improvements. The downside is, similar to a franchise fee, is a certain percentage of the public will deem it another tax. You can call it a fee, a service charge, call it whatever you want. They will view it as a tax, and so it's.
This one is, I mean, it is a tax from us, though, right? I mean, we're assessing this.
It's a fee.
It's a fee,
based
sorry, not a tax, but it's a fee that will be on our letterhead, is that?
Well, basically it would be a fee, and it would be calculated with a substantial formula on impervious area on each property. But it would probably, most cities set it up so that it goes on the water bill and it's collected with your compost and your landfill and your water and your sewer. It's one more line item on that water bill.
Can it be done as a flat fee like we do the compost site? You know, everybody pays the same price.
I don't know the answer. Possibly. As you read through this on your own time, you know, part of it talks about equitable to those who don't have much impervious surface area versus those who do have more impervious surface area, who are contributing, pushing more water faster to the streets and storm sewers versus the residential person. So, but you may be able to. I don't know.
But if it wasn't called a stormwater utility fee, it called something else. That it's, you know, a fee we're going to collect for something, you know, maybe stormwater, maybe not. Well, does it have to be a formula? Can it just be a flat fee?
Well, yeah, I'll look into that. You very well may be able to do a flat fee for everybody, and still call it a stormwater utility fee. I'll look into that. It's a good question.
How many of these do you think you'll be presenting to us over the coming months?
As many as I can come up with.
Okay.
No.
So, I mean,
you know what? These are the two big ones.
Okay.
These are the big ones that communities, you know,
Because, I mean,
juggle, and a number of them have implemented. But these are the two big ones.
because I'm like looking at weighing and trying to look at them side by side, and oh, is there a third one?
So what was the franchise? What, that much?
Yeah, well, here, let me, you might have that, just take that anyway. Basically, the franchise fee,
Why is it called franchise? Is it tied to something?
it's tied to electric and gas utility. So what we would do is if the council decided to implement a franchise fee, it would go on, we would assess it to Mid-American Energy. And then they are a pass-through. They pass it through to the Mid-American customers in Hampton. It would be on their Mid-American bill, their monthly bill. If you could do anywhere from 1 to 5%. And it's 1 to 5% of Mid-American's gas and electric sales in Hampton. So if you did 5%, when you get your Mid-American bill at home, you'd see right on there, city fee, city franchise fee, 5% of your bill. Bill is $100, another $5, and then Mid-American, you'd write your check to Mid-American, then they turn around and reimburse the city for those fees, and it's a revenue that can be used for a wide variety of things. It's not limited to what you can use it for. But
I think the last time we talked about that, I like that idea, because it's not a gigantic amount of money yet. Then the conflict I just want to make sure is that it's not, like this storm sewer thing. Let's say we generate over years millions of dollars, but we get all of our stuff, and well, we got to waste that money on something we don't need because the only thing we can spend it on is this. And if we're going to generate a bunch of money, it would be nice to not have to spend it on, if we wind up generating 5% or whatever, and of the entire population, we make $1 million a year, and we can put that towards the pool, or we can put that, and that's what I would. And that sounds like it's the case, so we can spend it on basically.
Basically, you set it up at the beginning of the process. You pass a resolution indicating what you intend to use the funds for, and I would recommend you do it broadly defined, so that you can, if you want to spend it on streets, you want to spend it on, parks, you want to spend it on a fire truck. You can do those things throughout the years. Yeah.
And that's on the franchise fee, but the stormwater, it will go to
stormwater infrastructure and improvements. Yeah. And that franchise fee goes to not just property owners; it goes to tenants in an apartment who get a Mid-American bill. Everybody, churches, schools would all have to pay, who are getting services but maybe not paying property.
So this is more reinforced. These are the top two that you think?
Yeah, these are the two big ones. And so I just want you to soak this in, ask questions.
I think those are good words, because it's a very important aspect of this.
Stormwater, that's right.
And encourage people to plant more trees, because trees are, and those who plant more trees should get less. So,
any comments? We'll be talking about this more in coming workshops, but kind of read through this, and we'll kind of try to do a side-by-side comparison and start getting some feedback from people. That's this alternative revenue. Thursday, just to kind of ask, is everybody planning on being here Thursday? We okay? Because we realize we're one short going into it, so if you're not going to be here, we really need to know if you're not going to be here. I'm going to, in our next, I'm going to put this on here, but I need to put the consumer, the CMS, my alternatives, select those to put in front of the EMS, not CMS. Emergency Management Commission alternative, because so I'm going to put that on. We need to do I need to do that? Or, selecting that? Is that appointed? If I'm not there, someone else can be there. A person can be there. An elected official to the meeting. So that's an appointment.
I guess we have to look at the bylaws, the EMS, EMC bylaws, to determine what they.
And I got that. So, all right. What else do we need to discuss?
that last one, Doug isn't available to the family, so table that.
Ron's not gonna be here Thursday, so we have to behave ourselves and get through this without any kind of problems.
We'll talk of that guy.
So if you want, if you,
I'll be there.
we'll be recording this, so remember, you know, we mess up Thursday night. Oh, so,
He's got a different chair. Yeah.
which chair is not like the others?
Tired of sitting around.
Anything else we need to go over? I think 7:06, we are dismissed. See you all Thursday.